You want XP in 1.19? Skulk, enough said. I'm going to make you a spawner-based Skulk XP farm, and then I'm going to make a world download out of it and give it to you for free, in both Bedrock and Java editions. Skulk is basically free XP. So if we can farm it, that gives us free XP for farming, right? I've got exactly 0 XP. Now let's give this fella a go. We have got an entire stack of Skulk, 64 blocks of it. And I'm going to mine out the lot with my hoe. Once I've got it all, one stack. Oh, no, it's got to miss one. One stack gives me 5.5 levels. That's just a single stack of this block. And there is loads of it down there. However, eventually it will run out. So we need to farm it up properly. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. We need one of these blocks, which means you can either go and kill the warden or mine one out with a silk touch pick in loads and loads of the caves that are in the deep dark. I don't care which one you do, go and choose, just go and get one of these blocks. When a mob dies near one of those Skulk catalysts, it sucks its soul out and turns it into Skulk blocks all around itself. I know, it's quite morbid really, but it is also quite cool to watch. I've got a load of creepers up there, I'm going to bang that button, they're going to fall down and die, and look at it bubbling across, all of those souls getting sucked into it. And we've also got one of the special Skulk blocks as well, because very occasionally you also get some of the specialist Skulk blocks like the shriekers and the sensors, which you can mine out for XP, or if you use a silk touch hoe, you can mine them and keep the blocks as well, meaning you can store them up for when you actually need that XP. This is like the next level in XP banks. Now this works with any mob, so you could use any mob farm to generate this Skulk. That's both passive and hostile mobs. So for example, you could adapt the massive mob farm that I did the other day into another type of XP farm with Skulk. And if you'd like me to show you how to do that, let me know in the comments below and maybe I'll adapt this farm into a Skulk farm. But I'm going to do this one with a lot less resources, which means I need one of these. Now you could absolutely use a zombie spawner, however I do prefer skelly spawners because I like to farm out the bones and the arrows that you get. Rotten flesh really only good for trading with clerics. But the zombie spawner will work in exactly the same way when it comes to XP and Skulk. However, do not, I repeat, do not use a spider spawner, whether it is a cave spider or a standard spider. Spiders have a habit of gamming the entire thing up. They get stuck in your tubes and nobody needs that in their life. So stick with either a zombie or a skeleton. And the first thing you got to do is light this thing up, and I mean really light it up. Hostile mobs naturally spawn at light level 0 in Minecraft 1.19. However, mobs from spawners, they don't mind so much. They quite like the light sometimes, so make sure this is really bright in here. You then want to mine yourself out a bit of space. Count from the spawner being 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and you want the walls 4 away from the spawner in all directions. You are also going to need to take out the chest and everything in it. That one was a bit rubbish. Then take 3 of the stone that you've probably just dug out and put 1 on top of the spawner, 1 on top of that, and 1 on top of that. That's going to stop anything from spawning on top of the spawner and gamming it up. We then need to dig down 4 more blocks. So your room should look like that. Now in the floor, pick one of the sides, it really doesn't matter which side you pick, and dig a trench all the way along like that. You're going to want this 2 deep, so make it all the way along 2 deep like that. And then place a bucket of water at the bottom of one end. That's going to flow all the way 8 blocks. On that 8th block, you are going to want to dig down 1 and out, and then we're going to come in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3. So you have got a little channel that runs right the way across your room, and then you'll go into the wall 3 blocks. I recommend you take out this water because it is going to get in your way. We'll pop it back in a moment. Then you're going to take out 1, 2, 3 and 4 blocks. This is where you're going to be shooting your mobs up and out. And on this bottom block right here, you're going to place a soul sand, and then here you're going to place a sign there and a sign there. You're then going to dig out that block and place a fence post right in there, and we are now going to try and get ourselves up at least 15 blocks. Now you could get away with slightly fewer than 15 blocks, but I recommend 15 because some of these skeletons sometimes pop out with armor, which means that they are slightly protected when they do the drop that they're about to do, that I'll show you in a moment, and we need them to die when they hit that drop. And at the top of your 15 blocks, dig out yourself a little tunnel that is 3 blocks high, and that tunnel needs to be 5 blocks long. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and on the bottom block there place a sign. Then grab a water bucket and place it on the block just above the level, so that's where your level is. You're coming around, place it on that block right there. That is going to flow along all the way to this sign but not over it, and it's also going to flow downwards, and that's how you're going to get out right now. You can see the water goes all the way to that soul sand block, and we're going to make that into a bubble column in just a moment. However, before we do, we need to dig out another chamber. So on the side that you've got your water column, dig out 2 blocks like that and build yourself a chamber, so if you've got a single wall separation between this and the chamber with the spawner in. I have created a chamber that is 17 long and 15 wide, and I find that this is just about the right sort of size. You could make it smaller if you wish, and you could even make it longer too, but this is just about right. You'll notice that the water column is 3 blocks into the room. That is great. We're going to place a glass block there and a glass block there, and then it's our water. We're going to surround the water here with glass, and then we're going to take this right the way up to the ceiling. So it should look like that. We're then going to come back to our spawner chamber, jump into our trench and jump on the soul sand, and we're going to tower up using kelp. This is going to create water source blocks all the way up to the top of our tunnel, and once we get there the kelp won't place anymore and we will be pushed all the way to the end here. We're then going to dig down into that chamber we have just created. Should dig down about 12 blocks and into the block directly below it like that. That block is going to get any block that is not naturally spawned, so planks or cobble or something like that. You want a block that is made by the player and not made by the game. Now come back through and into the trench and remove that kelp. That then is a water column that if you jump up on it will shoot you up to the top, will push you across here and down into and onto that block right there. You could tell it worked because there was kelp waiting for us. Come again into your spawner chamber and replace that water source block that you popped there. That's going to flow all the way along down into your collection chamber over that fence, which is going to lift the skeletons up just enough to pop them onto that soul sand, which will flow them right into your kill chamber. We're now going to set up the kill mechanism. So on the block right behind that block, place a sticky piston facing downwards, then a block on top of that and a block next to your block that you placed in the floor right here that is right underneath that hole. We are then going to get ourselves a lever, and we're going to place the lever next to the sticky piston and fire it. That's going to push that block down. We're then going to place a temporary slab there, and we're going to move slabs all the way around like that. That's especially useful if you've used a zombie spawner, because if you get any little rogue baby zombies, they are not going to be able to get out. We are then going to complete the tunnel all the way down so as these skeletons can't not fall into our trap. And finally, because 15 blocks is not enough to actually kill a skeleton or a zombie on drop-in, I'm going to put this pointed dripstone in. That goes onto that block, that man-made block, and that will make sure that any skeletons that fall on here, whether they are wearing armor or not, are killed outright. This sticky piston forms the on-off switch for this farm, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. Grab your Sculk catalyst and place it just on the corner of this column that you've got there. It can go either side, but I tend to put it the side that is not next to that water column. Just pop it right there. We are then going to trim around the edge of this room. The thing about a Sculk catalyst is it will keep sending Sculk pulse all the way around the room and eventually up the walls, and that's not what you want. So we're going to block it off by putting some man-made blocks in. And what better than mud bricks? So let's get these mud bricks all the way along the outside edge of this room. I've also lined the walls on the first layer up with some mud bricks as well. You don't have to do this, the stairs should be enough, but I like to take precautions. Plus, I quite like the way the mud bricks look. But you do it your way. Make sure that you use a block that is man-made, not naturally made. And what that means is this entire floor is potential Skulk and therefore potential XP. I've also created a stone generator because this could be really useful if you're having a right long session inside of here. This is simply a chest with 4 hoppers going into it using shift click 1, 2, 3 and 4 with a wooden block at the end just above those hoppers. I'm then going to place steps facing towards the gap like that, 1, 2, 3 and 4 on each side. I'm then going to waterlog these steps, so there and there, there and there, there and there, there and there. Now that will give a water source all the way along the top there. I'm then going to place a lava bucket on the 3rd block along, so that is 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to place that there. I'm going to place a block there to block off that lava. That's going to roll all across that water and create stone. You can see stone right there. You can then use a silk touch pick to get lots of stone, or just a normal pick to get cobblestone, which you can then smelt up to get stone. And that stone then can be used to be able to generate even more Skulk. I also realised that I hadn't lined around the glass chute. If you don't make sure that the Skulk can't get to the chute, what can happen is the soul sand can be turned into Skulk because it's a naturally occurring block. Get yourself a layer of 2 naturally occurring blocks. I've got wood planks and then a second layer here of the mud bricks for good measure, and that'll protect your soul sand and make sure that the skeletons always shoot up your chute. I've also added in some storage, a little bit of smelting and a silk touch pick in an item frame. We are now ready to get this thing started. Now come through to your spawning chamber for the last time. Take out these torches on the highest level first because they're the most difficult to get. Then take out the lower level torches because they're a lot easier to get. And then place yourself water all the way along the back wall so it runs all the way to but not over that little ledge there. And then very carefully take off the torches, because once you take these torches off, you're going to find skeletons are going to start to spawn in because the light level is low enough. Get yourself out, block up your hole, and then you are good to start collecting your skeletons. Make sure your farm is switched on by pushing that block down like that. That'll allow the catalyst to send its signal all the way through and down across the floor. Then just have to wait for your skeletons to come. We've got skeletons starting to go up that chute right now and down into our kill chamber. You can see instantly that catalyst has started to transform this floor. It has put some of this Skulk up the sides here, but that isn't going to change those blocks. It is just purely that you could mine it off should you wish to with a silk touch pick. You can see that Skulk catalyst getting that XP from those dead mobs and shooting it across the floor like that. If you were to stand here, that means you can also collect up those drops for those mobs and you are still in spawning distance of that spawner. Now, after just a very few minutes, you are going to find that you have got Skulk and Skulk vein and the occasional Skulk block all over your room. Do be cautious because you might find that that Skulk vein starts to grow up the glass, and if it gets up to the glass, it could start to transform your ceiling, and you don't really want that. Now, you can avoid this just by putting non-spawnable blocks such as these on top and around your glass. That's going to stop that Skulk vein from being able to get past that area, and as a result, you'll be completely safe from your ceiling being transformed. Now, maybe you want to transform your ceiling so you can mine that out as well. That's absolutely no problem, but make sure you've got a column somewhere in your room that the Skulk can grow up rather than having it grow up that glass, because if you get that Skulk vein inside your tube, it could start blocking out those skeletons from being able to fall into your trap. After only a very few minutes, we've got a big chunk of this room already transformed into Skulk. We've also got some of these special Skulk blocks. We've got the Skulk sensor, and over in this corner we've got a Skulk shrieker that has been coming in. But don't panic, you can see by the colour of that swirling soul inside, this is a man-made, a man-placed Skulk shrieker. What that means is that it has not got the power to summon the warden, so you're not going to have a warden coming up through your floor whilst you're AFK in this farm. Do not panic. Once you've decided you have got enough Skulk to be able to start farming it out, come along and turn off your farm. What that's going to do is that's going to stop that Skulk from spreading any further, and any mobs that drop on here are just going to get absorbed by that spike and die. You won't have any problems there. Then come along, grab yourself your hoe and then start to mine out all of this Skulk. This is not a silk touch hoe, so I am not going to get any of the blocks themselves, but what I am going to get is all of that lovely XP that I'm getting from the Skulk, and all of these extra Skulk blocks as well. You might as well get all of those too. Let's just mine all of it out, and I've got myself a fairly decent amount of XP just with this little attempt here. If I finish this off, so all of those blocks, that was around about 6 minutes. I've got myself 8 levels of experience. I can then pop that back. I can come and get some of the stone out of my chest, and I can replace this with stone. This stone is all naturally spawned blocks, so as a result it will transform into Skulk. Then once you've replaced all of your floor, come along, turn that back on again. That will re-engage your Skulk catalyst, and as a result you'll start to grow more Skulk ready for more experience. This is a super easy farm for you to make. All you need is a few torches, a bit of a pick, a little few bits of wood, some mud blocks. You don't need all of this fancy gizmo that I've put in here. I've gone well over the top. The hardest part is probably finding the spawner in the first place. The entrance to your farm is right here on the sandy shore by this tiger biome. This seed is one of the best Minecraft seeds I've seen in a long time, so you can have this for both Bedrock and Java Edition. Yep, this farm works in both of them as a world download. Just go to avomance.com and select free downloads page and you'll find both the Bedrock Edition and the Java Edition downloads right there waiting for you, completely for free. I hope you've liked this really simple spawner XP farm using Skulk. Let me know in the comments below what you think and I'll look forward to seeing you in another video. You take it easy now. Bye!